public hearing at 7:43, or 6:43, excuse me.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Derek Lamb, Deputy City Attorney. So tonight is a public hearing for a 6-month renewal of the existing moratorium on unlicensed marijuana uses. The city adopted the moratorium on unlicensed marijuana uses on December 9th, 2014, so almost a year ago, to allow the city time to develop comprehensive marijuana regulations, including both recreational and medical marijuana regulations. The city had adopted, prior to December 9, 2014, zoning and buffering regulations related to recreational marijuana. However, due to the uncertainty surrounding potential state regulations and the uncertain status of medical marijuana under Chapter 6951A RCW, the city had not adopted any medical marijuana regulations at that time. The city did see an increase in unlicensed medical marijuana business registrations from 2013 through 2014, especially after the recreational marijuana retail lottery was completed. The city anticipated state legislative action on the reconciliation of medical and recreational marijuana during the state legislative session in 2015, and so staff believed the moratorium was appropriate to put a pause on everything and to maintain the status quo to allow the city time to see what the state would come forward with its legislation, and to allow the city time to develop an appropriate comprehensive regulations given that state legislation. So council agreed, and on December 9th, as I indicated, 2014, the moratorium was adopted pursuant to Ordinance 14-021. At that time, the moratorium was, that ordinance provided for a duration of the moratorium for 1 year. So it will expire December 9th or 11/59 of December 8th of 2015 this year. The moratorium also established a work plan for the city to develop those comprehensive regulations. However, as you're well aware, the state legislative session this year went long, a record length, and didn't conclude until July 10th. Thus delaying our actions and ability to rely on what the state was going to do until it was complete. The city has been working through its process through that work plan as required by the moratorium. Staff came before council on August 18th with a variety of proposals to discuss. Staff also had scheduled a planning commission meeting on September 24th for those comprehensive regulations. However, the state, through the Liquor and Cannabis Board, issued emergency regulations on September 23rd, the day before that planning commission meeting was scheduled. The city put a pause to analyze those regulations. Subsequently, the city adopted a moratorium on licensed marijuana uses, but we've continued through the work plan, and that didn't stop everything. Planning Commission had a study session on October 22nd, and is scheduled for a second study session this Thursday on November 12th, at which time they'll take public comment on the proposed, or on the development of those regulations. Additionally, Planning Commission has a third meeting scheduled on December 10th, at which time they'll hear from both the police and the fire departments for their views on the impacts of marijuana within Spokane Valley. So the city is very actively working through those regulations. However, because of really all of those factors, the length of the state legislative session, the emergency rules that were issued, the complexities with developing those comprehensive regulations, the city will not be able to complete and adopt those regulations by December 8th, 2015. Thus, we're proposing tonight, or will be proposing, the renewal for a 6-month period of the moratorium on unlicensed marijuana uses. State law, RCW 3670A-390, authorizes moratoriums to be renewed for up to 6-month increments, provided that a public hearing is held in advance and the city adopts findings of facts justifying those extensions. This public hearing tonight meets those requirements. After the public hearing tonight, council will be presented with findings of fact for its consideration and the renewal of the moratorium on the unlicensed marijuana uses at a subsequent meeting. Notice for tonight's public hearing was appropriately published in the October 30th and November 6th editions of the Valley News Herald, which is the legal publication for the city of Spokane Valley. Again, this is an extension of an existing moratorium that was passed last year on unlicensed marijuana uses. As required by state law, those unlicensed uses must fully terminate by July 1 of 2016. And so with that extension of the existing moratorium, it won't change or modify any impact from the existing moratorium. With that, I'd be able to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from council? Comments from the public, and I have two people that would like to speak. Jason Dixon.
My name's Jason Dixon. I live in Otis Orchards. I own a medical marijuana dispensary called Herb Nerds on 12928 East Indiana. I'm also the son of a veteran, retired Major Frederick Dixon, Air Force. I have some copies to be handed out of my notes tonight. I have reviewed the brick and mortar stores, which are medicinal dispensaries in the Spokane Valley. From my careful review, there seems to be 3 stores, 2 of which I have no affiliation, which are qualified to be able to merge into the only remaining state licensed marijuana system. These 3 long-standing brick and mortar stores' families would be greatly affected by the moratorium. All 3 of them are owned by family men. I have 4 children. The owner of EK Green is caring for 3 children. And I'm not sure how many children the owner of Alternatives has. All 3 of them are owned by family men whose families would be in dire circumstances. All these 3 families, the representatives of these 3 stores, are asking that the moratorium on additional licenses end on July 1st, 2016, rather than October 2016. The reason for this is quite simple. These 3 stores would be forced to be closed from July 1st, 2016 until November 1st, 2016. It is not conducive to a fluid merger by being forced to be closed for 4 months. These 4 months are rolling dice with the lives of real people, real families, and small businesses in the Spokane Valley. Those 3 brick and mortar medical marijuana dispensaries are Herb Nerds at 12928 East Indiana, EK Green at 21 South Thierman Road, and Alternatives at 1506 North Pines Road. If you would just please, for the love of family and for the sake of survival, please adjust the end date of the moratorium for these 3 stores from October 2016 to July 1st, 2016 to patch a flaw in the current moratorium on additional licenses policy. To clear something up, the word license in the first moratorium was in regard to business licenses, and in the newest moratorium it is used to signify a liquor and cannabis board license. So the misuse of the word license in these policies has now substantially hurt the tax-paying, long-standing, existing medicinal marijuana dispensaries, which are fully qualified to be able to merge. Sincerely, Jason Dixon.
Thank you. Next, Steve Schneider.
Steve Schneider. I live in Spokane County, outside of the city limits of Spokane. I'm a commercial renter. I have about 23,000 square feet of rental space. And I would like to commend the building and planning on tenant improvements. They have done an excellent job for getting my plans through. I do have a concern about one of my tenants, which is Jason right here. He is going to be forced out on this moratorium because of those 4 months that it lapses into where he has to stop and where the moratorium stops. So there's 4 months there. I was just hoping some way you guys could figure out a way of not having those 4 months so these other businesses can survive too. Because, you know, being a commercial renter, you know, I want as many tenants as possible, and you were gonna lose tenants. You know, we're gonna lose income from us losing tenants. So I would sure appreciate it if you guys could relook at this and see if we can not have that 4 month period to where they're gonna have to go out of business. It doesn't make sense, you know, they have families, like Jason said, he's a single father, taking care of 4 kids by himself, and, you know, he has employees, and all these people are gonna be just shoved out. It just totally doesn't make sense to me. Please correct it any way you can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to speak on this topic at this time?
Mr. Mayor, I had a question of our attorney.
Okay.
I don't know whether this is the right time, but on this subject, do
Okay.
you want me to do it, ask him now or after you close it?
Well, there are no more comments from the public, so we have comments from the council if you'd like to ask.
Oh,
the clerk.
okay. I